Some new information now on wiretapping. Statistics from the Justice Department showing the Obama administration has increased the number of applications to install wiretaps on suspected terrorists, spies, and their associates by roughly 10% over the last 2 years. Is it making America any safer? Chief Washington correspondent James Rosen live in D.C. with that. James?
John, good morning. These new numbers on wiretaps have surfaced at a time when the Obama administration is pressing Congress to renew certain spy powers that are set to expire at year's end. These latest figures released by DOJ earlier this week show a distinct rise from 2010 to 2011 in the number of applications for court orders that the Obama administration has made to a special panel of 11 federal judges known as the FISA Court after the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. All of these requests were approved, although 2 were withdrawn, and all but 69 of them were for electronic surveillance. National security officials say FISA has been an essential tool in the war on terror, including the effort to neutralize al-Qaeda over the years, but they caution that the rise of FISA wiretaps in 2011 was not attributable to the famous raid on Osama bin Laden's Pakistani compound, nor to any specific operation. They also note that at their high point back in 2007, as you can see, these figures edged toward 2,400 in 1 year. Officials told Fox News the intelligence community is only now fully accustomed to the changes to the law that President Bush signed in 2008. Now, Title VII of the FISA law is set to expire at year's end. It allows the targeting of categories of non-U.S. citizens abroad without the need for a court order for each individual target. Attorney General Eric Holder recently told the Senate this provision is, quote, critical to our national security.
And so the administration strongly supports the reauthorization, and as you indicated, hopes that it occurs well before the end of the year, so that the certainty that is needed by the men and women who are in our intelligence community will have some degree of assuredness that those tools will remain there and that our fight against those who would do harm to the United States can continue.
The FISA court was created as a post-Watergate measure to strengthen oversight of wiretapping and other surveillance techniques used both here and abroad. John.
James Rosen in D.C. for us. James, thank you.
Well, there is a lot of information there. So for more on this, we're going to bring in Judge Andrew Napolitano, a Fox senior judicial analyst, with us. And you're smiling because my first question for you has to do with losing privacy to the government. And you and I were talking. We'll never know if they're even looking at us.
Well, that is correct, Harris. And James has done a great job in getting his arms around the numbers here, which are truly staggering. There are other numbers that are not a part of this report that are part of this program, and those are self-written search warrants where FBI agents don't go to the FISA court but authorize themselves to examine information, not from you but about you, your banking records, your computer records, your telephone records, your medical records, your legal records. If you take all of this together, what they're going to the FISA court and the FISA court is letting them get and what they get on their own, if whatever they obtain on individuals, if they don't use it in a prosecution against those persons, then they never know that they have been a target.
That's amazing. And I don't even want to think about where all that information stays or goes or whatever. You bring us, and I was reading some notes on this from you, because you write about this a lot. We should tell people. This is an important topic you say that we should know about. But you bring us to a point where you say we're moving dangerously close to what we fought against in the Cold War and in World War II. What do you mean?
Well, if you listen to the language of Ronald Reagan in the years that he was running for president, when we were still fighting the Cold War, and he was challenging the moral authority and the legal authority of communist governments to suppress the rights, to take away the privacy of the people in their countries. We are now getting closer to permitting our own popularly elected government to do to us the very things that communist governments in Eastern Europe and in Soviet Russia did to their people, and against which we fought a Cold War, basically removing their sense of dignity and privacy and putting us under a totalitarian microscope where the government watches everything we do.
So what do you say to the pushback that it's a good cause, it's for a good cause, it's to keep us safe from terrorism? You know, maybe some Americans would say they would cede some of their privacy rights if it's for that cause.
I say a couple of things. The Constitution doesn't permit it. And the Constitution was written by people who had suffered terribly under the King of England, and they didn't even obviously have technology in those days. And I also say your personal dignity should be of great value to you. And there's an area of human behavior that quite simply is none of the government's business. but the government is making its business. If people don't cry out against it, the government will know everything about it.
You know what? You bring me to my last question, and it has to do. Yesterday afternoon, I'm in my office and I'm watching the Associated Press wires. This goes by relatively quietly. Why don't we hear more about this?
Because a lot of people have accepted the myth that when the government invades our privacy, it somehow keeps us safe. It doesn't keep us safe. It puts tremendous personal private information in the hands of people who could misuse it. It also doesn't keep us free because it exposes our innermost behavior, what we do in the kitchen, what we do inside the house, to the peering eyes of government. And the Constitution does not trust the government with that information.
And I've so learned from you about context. When you take things out of context, they're sometimes inexplainable, no matter what it is that we're doing, which is a great lesson.
Nice
Judge,
to chat with you.
Thank you
Pleasure.
very much.